The first play of the game for Bryce Young really kind of sums up how this entire game went for him. It's a man coverage concept by the Saints, but it's a bit unique because the player who's usually covering over the middle of the field is actually going to be covering a lot more towards the top of the screen. I think there was actually a failed switch here where two guys end up covering the player in motion towards the top of the screen, but either way, the point is that the middle of the field underneath is open. So for that route right there, it's a good one, and it's probably going to get open if that's where Young decides to look. However, as you see, Young does look in that direction, and he's going to fire it, and it results in an interception. Well, what the hell happened there? I thought that was supposed to be a play that could work against this coverage. How does it result in an interception? This actually wasn't Bryce Young's fault that much. This angle will do a good job of showcasing why, although I think you could still debate if you want to put some criticism on him. Essentially, this is just a timing thing, where you see the receiver he's going to look towards, and you see where he is on the field, and you see the receiver just cuts after Young, I think, was expecting him to, and this angle shows how close you have to be, how really well-timed you have to be to make these plays work. The NFL moves a lot quicker than a lot of people realize. That being said, they weren't on the same page here, and it results in an interception on the very first play offensively of the season for the Panthers. On the following drive, this play would happen, which is an interesting play. So first, the way it's going to work is there's a play action towards the offense's left. But the Saints have 5 different players lined up on the line, and this concept is only designed to block 4 of them. That New Orleans Saints player could be rushing the passer right here, so Bryce Young has to be aware of this, right? Usually you have 2 different options. What you could do is you could tell one of your players to make sure that they're blocking him, right? Set your protection in a way that works. Or if you don't think he's going to actually be rushing the passer, well then you can try and just run the play as is, but if he does rush the passer, then you have to be aware of it. Young takes a snap, that player is rushing the passer, and right here, Young is not aware of it. This play has been destroyed due to this, and now what can you do in this situation? Well, probably this is not what you want to see have happen. Watch as Bryce Young tries to scramble up, ends up running into his own offensive lineman, and it almost looks like the offensive lineman did the rest of the work to tackle him. I think he was actually just trying to hold Bryce Young up, but it just didn't work. I think Young was going down at that point anyway. So, yeah, not ideal. And in fact, the setting protection was a real issue for Bryce Young. This play was, to me, this is just a horrible play, in my opinion. So that's what the Panthers would typically do in this situation, where they have, their 5 offensive linemen. Those cover the middle 5 guys for the Saints. You have a tight end towards your right who can block, if there is the guy all the way towards the end, rushing everyone towards the right. And then you have a halfback who's lined up towards your left. He can block the guy all the way to the left. So you have 7 guys who could block all of these rushers. So you're okay. Except look at what's happening right now. Bryce Young is communicating with the halfback. What is he doing here? Well, he's getting the halfback to move towards his right instead, and he goes and says something, we don't know what, but says something to the offensive line. But here's the issue now. I'm assuming what happened in this scenario was by design. It was a designed check, and there's only 1 second left, so he doesn't have that much time in the play clock to make something work, but I think he probably should have noticed this earlier, because now there's going to be too many guys towards the right. Both kind of your extra guys who could be blocking are lined up on one side of the ball. If Carolina's center does in fact block the Saints player who's right in front of him, then the guard can block the next Saints player over. The tackle can then block the next Saints player over, but what does that mean for the final Saints player over? Well, he gets a straight shot to Bryce Young and gets an immediate sack. I mean, these are just the things you have to notice as a quarterback, especially when you're checking into a different play. Like, you just can't be doing this. And going over to something like this, I mean, it was an issue, Bryce Young's game. It just was. There were too many mistakes going on. This one is a 3rd and 17. Young is going to, after stepping up in the pocket, miss a throw that results in an interception right there. You also just had some other good old-fashioned missed throws. This one, bit under pressure, but still missed the throw. This one, not under pressure. Not a huge window, but wasn't really a catchable football right there. So the missed throws, the not setting protection, even with that one interception, the first interception I didn't think was his fault. The second one certainly was. Now, I do want to be clear, there were some positives, I thought, from Young's game. Something like this, it's a cover 2 zone play for the New Orleans Saints, and what's going to happen is Young takes the snap, doesn't love what he sees, which, that has to be mentioned. This was a tough situation offensively for the Panthers all around. It was not just Young's fault. Of course, he's going to get the blame because he's the quarterback, but there were some other issues. That being said, Young's in motion towards the top of the screen. You see right there, a Saints player has kind of that classic decision, right? Of does he stay with the Panthers player in coverage, or does he run in and try and tackle Bryce Young? So watch how when the Panthers player moves in to try and tackle Young, Young is able to flip it to the receiver further deep. Young's actually done a pretty good job at the NFL level of, once he gets outside the pocket, being able to make these types of plays. I think he's done a pretty good job at that. Like, he's actively good at this stuff. Doesn't get too many opportunities, but when he does, he tends to make the most of them. This one's another one where it's a 4th down and goal, and they want a touchdown here. I know it's 37-3, the game is over, basically, but you want to at least get a touchdown here. You don't want to have to settle for a field goal instead of going for it, and you certainly don't want to get stopped at the 2-yard line. However, when Young takes a snap, stop me if you've heard this before, he doesn't love what he sees, so now what do? Well, he's going to use his legs. I mean, watch him step up in the pocket. He's going to juke out Demario Davis. I mean, there is a short list of people who can say they have juked out Demario Davis in their life, and he gets a touchdown. He did fumble the ball right after he got past the goal line, unfortunately, but you got the touchdown. He was over the line before fumbling it, so well done there, Bryce Young. So yeah, there were some positives, but it was a bad day. It was a bad day, and don't get me wrong, there's some things you can look at and say, well, this is something to build off of, but you are in year 2, and kind of the issues just have to be starting to get fixed at a certain point, because even the positives aren't like, oh my God, this is so incredible, like if we could just figure it out, this could be awesome. They're kind of more so like, oh, well, this is a good play, but some of the clips that I ended up not putting in the video, but they're just little inside baseball. The way I typically make my videos is I watch the game. I usually will clip 20 clips when I'm watching, and then I edit it down to whatever I decide to put in the actual video. I had a few that I'm like, well, these are positives, and then rewatching them, they're not really positives as much as they are just actually looking like a quarterback here, which is not really something I look at and say, oh, well, this definitely has to be included in the video. It's just there were plays that went okay. It absolutely was not all Young's fault, and I think some of the things that people think were his fault weren't his fault, but he made too many mistakes, and it's not good enough. That being said, there were some flashes, right? And I guess the one thing I would say, if I'm a Panthers fan, is, well, what else are you doing this season? Might as well give him another 16 games, see what he does. If he sucks in all 16 games, that's good. Then you'll get a good draft pick, right? That's kind of how I view all of this. But that's all of my thoughts on Bryce Young. Before I go, I'll let you know that I do have a movie channel. If you like watching movies, check out the movie channel. The link is in the description below. Jackson Kruger Movies is the name. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.